This episode is an ESL listening practice for intermediate learners. You will hear a natural conversation with clear pronunciation and everyday English. No tests, no pressure, just listening. Let's start.
Hello and welcome to ESL Listening Practice. I'm very glad you decided to tune in today.
It's great to be here.
If you are an intermediate learner, maybe you're sitting around that B2 level and you're really looking to push your English forward, well, you're in exactly the right place.
Definitely. And we're doing something a little bit different today.
We are.
Usually, when you think about improving your English, you think about, grammar books, vocabulary lists, maybe phrasal verbs.
The usual stuff.
Right. We're not doing any of that today. We're going to talk about something else. The hidden side of English proficiency.
We are talking about strategy. We're talking about psychology. And specifically, we're going to try and get inside the heads of the people who, let's be honest, terrify most of us.
I think that's the right word.
We're talking about examiners.
It's such a critical topic. Because you can have all the vocabulary in the world, but if you don't understand the person sitting across from you, the one holding the scorecard, you might not get the result you actually deserve.
I think terrify is absolutely the right word. I remember taking exams, and even now, the thought of walking into a small, quiet room with a stranger who's just there to judge me, it makes my heart race.
It's a universal fear, isn't it?
It really is.
And we have to start right there. We need to analyze that feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, why do we feel that way? Typically, when a student walks into an exam room for an IELTS, TOEFL, a Cambridge assessment,
Any of them,
they feel like they're being put on trial.
it feels so personal. You sit down in that chair and you feel like the examiner is looking right through you. They're not just listening to your English. They're asking, is this person smart?
Is this person interesting?
Is this person worthy of my time?
Exactly. That is the absolute core of the anxiety. It feels like a judgment of your soul, or at the very least, a judgment of your intelligence and your personality.
And this leads to a massive misconception, right? That the examiner is just sitting there waiting for perfect English.
Waiting to be dazzled by your brilliance, waiting for you to sound like a native speaker who went to Oxford.
I call it the myth of perfection. I see it all the time. Students think they need to sound like, a member of the royal family.
Right.
They believe they need to use vocabulary that you'd find in 19th century literature. And the flip side of that is this incredible fear that if they make one mistake, one single grammar slip,
It's game over.
it's game over.
And that's exactly why we need to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Because that belief isn't just stressful. It's fundamentally incorrect.
It's wrong.
In fact, holding on to that belief is probably hurting your score. If you go in trying to be perfect, you will likely perform worse than if you went in trying to be, functional.
Okay, now that sounds a little counterintuitive. I mean, usually in life, aiming for perfection is a good thing, right? Strive for the best. But you're saying for these exams, it's actually a trap.
It is a huge trap. The core concept we want to get into today is simple, but it is so powerful. And it's this. You can improve your exam score without learning a single new grammar rule or a single new vocabulary word today.
That's a bold claim.
You can improve your score simply by changing how you view the test and, crucially, understanding the psychology of the examiner.
Better scores without more studying. I think every student listening just leaned in a little closer.
I hope so.
But I have to play devil's advocate for a second. If I'm an examiner, surely I want to hear good English. I want to hear sophisticated ideas. You're not saying that isn't true, are you?
You want to hear clear English.
Yeah.
And that's a very different thing from sophisticated or perfect English.
Okay.
We're going to break down why being natural isn't always good, why making mistakes is actually okay, and what you can do to make that examiner's job easier, which is how you make them happy.
All right, let's get into it. Let's start with that first big area, the examiner's mindset, and this idea of criteria versus brilliance.
This is where the biggest disconnect happens. Students walk in believing the examiner's asking, is this student brilliant?
Right. Am I about to be amazed?
Yes. So they feel this pressure to say something profound, to be poetic.
Yeah.
They want to change the examiner's life with their answer about, their favorite hobby.
I have seen this happen so many times. A student gets asked a really basic question. Something simple, like, what's your favorite food?
Okay.
And instead of just saying pizza or pasta, they try to give this philosophical speech about the cultural significance of wheat in the 19th century and the deep emotional connection to their grandmother's kitchen.
And it just falls apart. It becomes a total mess.
And while that might be a beautiful sentiment in a poem, in an exam context, it's often a disaster.
Why?
Because the examiner is not asking, is the student smart?
Yeah.
They're asking a very, very boring, very mechanical question.
Which is...
Does this answer meet the criteria?
It sounds so cold when you put it like that. So mechanical.
It is mechanical. And honestly, that's good news for you. It should be a relief.
How so? Because it means you don't have to be a genius. Examiners are trained observers. They have a job to do, and that job is to follow a strict set of marking rules, a rubric.
They're looking for specific targets.
Specific targets. They are not looking for your emotions, and they're not looking for your potential. They can't grade potential. They're looking for data points they can measure.
I want to use an analogy here because I think it really helps clarify this difference between, say, overall skill and what's being tested. Let's talk about a driving test.
This is the perfect comparison. Absolutely perfect.
Okay, so think about getting your driver's license. You get in the car with the driving instructor for your test. What are they checking for?
They're checking a list.
A list. Did I stop at the red light?
Yep.
Did I check my mirrors every 5 seconds? Did I use my turn signal, my blinker when I turned? Did I stay within the speed limit?
Exactly. They have a clipboard, or maybe it's a tablet now, and they are just ticking boxes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Right. Now imagine for a second that you're a Formula One race car driver. You're Lewis Hamilton. You are incredibly talented. You have amazing reflexes. You can drift around corners. You can drive at 200 miles per hour with perfect control.
You have style. You have flair. You're brilliant.
You are a brilliant driver. But if you get in that car for your basic driving test and you drift around a corner at 80 miles per hour,
You're going to fail immediately.
Instantly.
The examiner does not care that you're a brilliant driver. They don't care that you have amazing car control that no one else has.
They don't care about your potential to win the Monaco Grand Prix.
They care that you broke the rules. They care that you didn't follow the checklist.
So in this analogy, the student trying to use Shakespearean vocabulary and complex philosophical ideas is the Formula One driver drifting around the corner.
Precisely. They are showing off, but they are not ticking the boxes. An English exam is not a talent show. It is a checklist.
But doesn't that feel a little, I don't know, dehumanizing? We're talking about language, which is all about connection and expression and being human.
It can feel that way.
If the examiner is just a robot ticking boxes, doesn't that take the soul out of it?
It might feel like it, but we have to look at it from the perspective of fairness. This is what I call the robot factor.
The robot factor, okay.
Examiners are human, of course, but they are trained to act like robots during the assessment. They're trained to ignore things like effort.
Ouch. That is harsh. Effort doesn't count. I can feel students panicking right now. We're always taught that if we just try hard, we'll succeed.
It sounds harsh, but it's actually the only way to make the test fair. Imagine if examiners gave points for effort.
Okay.
One examiner might see a student who looks very earnest and give them a high score. Another examiner might see the same student and think they look desperate and give them a low score.
So it becomes subjective.
Totally subjective. So they strip all of that away. You could try really, really hard. You can sweat. You can look intense. You can want it more than anything.
But the examiner can't give you points for trying hard.
They can only give you points for what you actually produce, your output.
So they're not really looking at me, the person. They're looking at my output, the language.
Yes.
So what are those specific things they're scanning for?
They're looking for specific grammatical structures. They're looking for a specific range of vocabulary. They're looking for specific organizational patterns in your answers. It's very technical.
So if I use a passive sentence correctly,
They tick a mental box.
if I use a linking word like however or consequently,
They tick another mental box.
so instead of thinking I need to impress this person with my personality, I should be thinking
I need to give them the data they're looking for.
I'm a data delivery system.
You are a data delivery system for 15 minutes. Your whole job is to deliver the evidence that allows them to tick the boxes on their sheet. If you don't give them the data, they can't give you the points, no matter how nice you are or how hard you're trying.
This leads us perfectly into our next section then. We have to talk about evidence over impression. This idea of invisible skills.
This is such a crucial concept. The rule in the exam room is simple. if it's not visible, or in the case of a speaking test, if it's not audible.
It doesn't exist.
It does not exist for the examiner.
I want to talk about the silent genius. I feel like every teacher knows this type of student. I certainly had friends in school who were like this.
Oh, absolutely. The silent genius, that's the student who, understands everything. Their listening skills are perfect. Their reading comprehension is off the charts.
In their head, they're composing these beautiful, complex sentences. They have this rich inner monologue.
But when you ask them a question, they just nod their head and say, yes.
Or maybe if they're feeling chatty, I agree.
Right, I agree. And then silence, just silence.
Now, in the real world, in a normal conversation, that might be fine. Maybe you're just a quiet, thoughtful person, a great listener.
But in an exam, it's a total disaster.
Because the examiner can't guess your level. They can't just assume you know the answer.
They are not mind readers. They cannot look deep into your eyes and see that you have a perfect understanding of the conditional tense.
You have to say it.
You have to say it. You have to prove it. If it doesn't come out of your mouth for the purposes of the test, you don't know it. That's the fundamental rule of the exam room.
That's a little scary for introverts, though. It feels like the system is sort of rigged against people who are naturally quiet.
And to an extent, it is. The exam, by its very nature, rewards production. It rewards explicit communication. So if you are a naturally quiet person, you have to. You have to play a role.
You have to act.
For 15 minutes, you have to act like a chatty person. You have to pretend you love talking.
Okay, so let's get really specific. Let's break down this checklist of evidence. When an examiner is scanning your answer, what are the main buckets they're trying to fill?
Generally, across most of the major exams, IELTS, TOEFL, Cambridge, you're looking at 4 or 5 main areas. First up, and this is an obvious one, is range of vocabulary.
And this isn't just knowing the word cat, right? But it's also not just about knowing a big word like idiosyncratic.
No, it's about variety and precision. It's not about using big words just to show off. It's about showing you can use synonyms effectively.
Okay, an example.
If you say the word good 5 times in 1 minute, it was a good movie, the food was good, he's a good man. That's bad evidence.
Why? It's grammatically correct.
It's correct, but it suggests your vocabulary is very limited. It's low level. But if you say it was a compelling movie, the food was delicious, he is a kind man, now you're providing evidence of range.
You're ticking boxes.
You're ticking boxes. And they also look for things like collocations, words that naturally and correctly go together.
Okay, so vocabulary is one bucket. What's next?
Clarity of ideas. This is huge. Can the examiner understand your point immediately?
What does that mean in practice?
It means if I have to listen to your sentence 3 times and mentally rearrange the words to figure out what you're trying to say, your score is going down. It has to be instantly understandable.
Okay, so clarity is key. Then there's logical structure.
Yes. Does your answer have a beginning, a middle, and an end? Or is it just a random collection of thoughts? We're going to talk more about this later, but structure is absolutely massive. It guides the examiner through your thought process. It makes their job easy.
And of course, grammatical control.
Can you manipulate the language? Not just use one tense, but can you move between tenses? Can you use the passive voice if you need to? Can you build complex sentences?
And finally, task completion.
The big one. Did you actually answer the specific question that I asked you?
This seems so obvious, but I guess a lot of students don't do it.
It happens all the time. A student has prepared a beautiful speech about their last holiday. They've memorized it.
Okay.
So I asked them, what are the disadvantages of tourism in your country?
Yeah.
And they just launch into their speech about their wonderful holiday in Spain.
They answered the question they wanted to hear.
Not the one they actually heard. And that's an immediate fail on task completion.
Yeah.
You can have perfect grammar and vocabulary, but if you don't answer the question, you get a very low score.
I want to run a scenario here to really make this simple versus complicated idea concrete. Because I think students hear simple and they think bad or low level.
Let's do it. This is a very, very common trap students fall into.
Okay. Let's imagine 2 students. We'll call them student A and student B. The examiner asks a question. Do you think computers are good for children?
A classic exam question.
Right.
Okay. Student A is the one who wants to sound smart. They want to be the philosopher. They want to impress me with their complexity.
Right. So student A starts talking and they say something like, well, the computerization of the modern era is a big phenomenon of the existence of the youth. And it was creating many complications of the mental state.
And they just get lost.
Completely lost. They're trying to use big words like phenomenon and existence but the grammar is all over the place. I don't actually know what their opinion is, and they're stumbling over every other word.
Right. They're trying to build a skyscraper, but they don't have the materials or the blueprint, so the whole thing just collapses halfway through. The examiner's listening to this and thinking, what does he mean? Is he for computers or against them? What is the subject of this sentence? The cognitive load on the examiner is incredibly high. They're working so hard.
Okay, now let's look at student B. Student B's goal is to be safe and clear.
Okay, let's hear student B's answer.
Student B says, in my opinion, computers can be good for children for two main reasons. Firstly, they are excellent tools for education. For example, children can use them to research school projects. Secondly, they are good for entertainment. However, I believe parents should be careful and limit screen time.
Boom. Student B wins. Hands down. Not even a competition.
But wait, student B used simple words. Good, education, entertainment. They didn't use phenomenon or implications of the digital age.
It doesn't matter in the slightest. Look at the evidence student B provided.
Okay.
They used a phrase to give their opinion. In my opinion, they use signposting and linking words. Firstly. Secondly, however, for example. Their grammar was controlled, their idea was perfectly clear. The examiner can tick every single box for student B.
And for student A.
For student A, the examiner is just confused. They can't find the evidence because it's hidden behind this huge, messy cloud of trying to be smart.
So the advice is, don't hide your English behind complicated ideas. Put the evidence right there on the table.
Exactly. Don't make me dig for it. Hand it to me on a silver platter. Simple but clear beats, complicated but unclear every single time. It's about communication efficiency.
That is honestly such a relief to hear. It just takes so much pressure off. You don't have to be a genius.
No.
You just have to be organized.
Which brings us to another huge trap. And this is related. It's what I call the coffee shop fallacy. This is the myth of natural English.
Oh, I hear this all the time from students. I want to sound like a native speaker. I want to sound chill. I want it to feel like I'm just chatting with my friends in a cafe.
And that's a nice goal to have for your life in general. If you move to London or New York, of course you want to sound natural when you're ordering a coffee.
But for an exam.
For an exam, it is a very dangerous strategy. Because an exam is not a casual conversation. It is an assessment. And the rules of engagement are completely different.
It's a different context. When I talk to my friends in a coffee shop, we interrupt each other. We use slang. We trail off mid-sentence.
We don't finish our thoughts.
We say like and 100 times a minute.
And if you do that in an exam, you're not showing fluency. You're showing a lack of control and a lack of structure. Examiners, and I can't stress this enough, prefer structure over creativity. They prefer organized ideas over long, rambling, natural stories.
But wait a second. Native speakers use and like all the time. So if a native speaker took the IELTS exam and just spoke naturally, would they get a low score?
That is a fascinating question. And the answer is possibly. If a highly educated native speaker went in and just rambled, used a lot of slang, and didn't organize their thoughts, they might actually score lower than a highly trained B2 student on certain criteria like coherence and cohesion.
Really?
Yes. Also, there's a difference. When native speakers use, they often use intonation and stress to hold the listener's attention. It's a placeholder. When many learners use, it's because they're completely stuck. The sound is different. The effect is different.
Let's talk about the long story problem. This fits in here. I ask a student, tell me about your hometown. And they start this 10-minute epic tale about their grandfather's farm and the tree they used to climb.
And what usually happens?
8 plus lost?
They start, well, but then they get to a part of the story where they don't have the specific vocabulary. They need the word for, I don't know, pitchfork, and they don't have it.
So they get stuck.
They get stuck. They start saying, how do you say, and then the grammar starts to fall apart. They forget if they're in the past tense or the present perfect. It just becomes a mess. They've painted themselves into a corner with their own story.
I think we should demonstrate this. Let's do a little simulation. I'll be the natural chill student, and you can be the structured exam student.
Okay, sounds good. Let's take a standard part 3 question. Something like, what is the most popular sport in your country?
Okay, I'm the natural student. I want to sound cool and relaxed. Here I go. Sports, right? In my country, people really, really love like football. You know, soccer. It's super huge. Like everyone watches it. My dad, he's totally crazy about it. He screams at the TV all the time. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I guess football is the big one. It's just a vibe, you know.
Okay. Now let's analyze that. Was it natural? Yes. It sounded like a teenager at a bus stop.
Right.
Did it convey the basic meaning? Sort of. We got there in the end. But now let's look at the score. There was a lot of hesitation. The vocabulary was very, very basic. Huge, crazy, funny, big. There was zero structure. It was just a stream of consciousness. The examiner has to work really hard to extract the actual answer from all of that noise.
Okay, now it's your turn. Show us the exam mode version. Show us the structure.
Okay, same question. Without a doubt, football is the most popular sport in my country. I believe there are two main reasons for this. First of all, it's deeply ingrained in our national culture and history. Almost everyone grows up playing it. In addition, the sport is very accessible because you only really need a ball to play. Consequently, you will see people playing football in almost every park and street across the nation.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it sounds a little bit stiff, a little formal. It doesn't sound like a casual chat.
It is a little stiff. It's not how you would talk to your best friend over a beer. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But now look at the evidence.
Right.
Without a doubt. Two main reasons. First of all, in addition, consequently, the vocabulary ingrained in our culture, accessible.
The examiner is just ticking boxes as fast as their pen can move. Tick, 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 tick.
Exactly. I made the examiner's job easy. And that is the goal. Your number one goal should be to be easy to score.
That's a great phrase, easy to score. We have to remember that examiners are human beings. They get tired.
Absolutely. Think about their day. They might have listened to 20 students before you. They're sitting in a small, windowless room. They're probably drinking bad coffee. They are bored.
It's a tough job.
It is. So if you come in and you start rambling and making them work really hard to figure out what you mean, they get frustrated. And a frustrated examiner is not going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
But if you come in and you say, firstly, secondly, therefore,
it's like music to their ears. They can relax. They know exactly where you're going. They can follow your logic.
it's respectful of their time and their energy.
It is. And this is a key phrase to remember. Boring but clear is always, always safer than exciting but confusing.
I love that. Boring but clear. Put that on a t-shirt. It might not be the most inspiring slogan for learning a language for life, but for passing a test, that is pure gold.
It is the motto of passing exams.
Okay, let's move on to our next big section, and this is a huge one. The truth about mistakes. Specifically for you, the B2 intermediate level learner.
This is where we have to deal with the fear of the red pen, the paralyzing fear that every mistake I make lowers my score.
Students genuinely believe they start the test with a perfect score, 100%. And every time they miss an S on a verb or use the wrong preposition, they drop to 99, 98, 97, all the way down until they fail.
That is just not how it works. And we need to be very, very clear about this. Examiners expect you to make mistakes at the B2 level.
They expect it.
Yes. If you didn't make mistakes, you wouldn't be B2. You'd be C2 or native level. Perfection is not the standard for intermediate learners. You have permission to be imperfect.
So you're saying you can make mistakes and still get a good score?
You can make many mistakes and still get a very good score. It all depends on the kind of mistake you're making. We need to distinguish between what we call slips and patterns.
Okay, what's the difference?
A slip is a one-time thing. A mistake of performance. Maybe you're nervous, you're speaking quickly. You say, yesterday I go to the bank.
Right, instead of went.
Right. You know it should be went. Your brain knows it, but it just slipped out. But then 2 sentences later, you use the past tense perfectly. The examiner hears the slip, they note it, but they also see that you actually do know the grammar. It was just an accident.
So it doesn't hurt you much.
It's just noise.
Yeah.
It doesn't significantly impact your score. Now, a pattern is different.
A pattern is?
A pattern is when you always say, yesterday I go, and last week I see, and last year I eat. Now, the examiner thinks, okay, this student has a systematic problem. They do not have control of the simple past tense.
So that's a gap in your knowledge, not just an accident.
Exactly. That hurts your score because it shows a fundamental weakness.
So one wrong preposition, one mix-up article, that's not going to fail you.
Absolutely not. But there's an even more critical concept here, and it's the idea of communication breakdown.
That sounds pretty serious.
It is. This is what really destroys scores. The number one question the examiner is asking about your mistakes is this. Does the mistake stop me from understanding you? Does it block communication?
Okay, can you give us an example? A minor mistake versus a blocking mistake.
Sure. Let's take a minor mistake. A student says, you go to the store. It's wrong. It should be he goes. But do you understand what I mean?
Yes, 100%. The meaning is perfectly clear. It's a little annoying to hear. It sounds unpolished, but I know exactly what you mean.
Exactly. So that's a minor grammatical error. It does not block communication.
Yeah.
The message arrives. Now, let's imagine a blocking mistake.
Okay.
Let's say a student wants to say, I have been working here for 10 years. But instead, they use the wrong tense and vocabulary and say, I am work here since 10 years ago. Now it's getting confusing. Or even worse, I work here 10 years.
Okay.
Is that past, present? It's ambiguous.
Right.
Or a classic vocabulary one. A student says, I was very boring at the party.
Oh, that's a classic one.
It is. Because they mean, I was bored.
But I was boring means you are a boring person. I was bored means the party was dull. That changes the meaning of the sentence completely.
Exactly. If the examiner has to stop and think, wait, what did they mean? Were they bored or were they boring? That is a breakdown. The smooth flow of communication has stopped. That kind of mistake lowers your score significantly.
So the takeaway is, if you make a mistake but the meaning is still clear, don't panic.
Don't panic. And please, whatever you do, avoid the sorry trap.
Oh, the sorry trap. I know this one so well. The student who apologizes for everything.
Basically something like, yesterday he goes. Oh, sorry, he goes. Yeah. I mean, he went sorry. So my English is bad.
Why is this so bad? I mean, isn't it polite to apologize? Doesn't it show the examiner that you know you made a mistake?
In a social situation, maybe. In an exam, it is terrible strategy for two reasons. First, it kills your fluency score. Fluency is about keeping the river of speech flowing. If you stop to apologize, you are building a dam. You're stopping the current.
That makes a lot of sense.
And second, you are highlighting your own mistake. Maybe the examiner didn't even hear it. Maybe they were looking at their watch for a split second or making a note. But when you shout, sorry, mistake, you are basically holding up a big red flashing light that says, look over here, I messed up.
You are forcing the examiner to notice your error.
You're drawing attention to the negative, and it also makes the examiner feel a bit uncomfortable. It creates an awkward vibe in the room.
So what should you do?
Just keep going. If you can correct yourself instantly and smoothly, like he goes, that's fine. But if the moment has passed, just let it go. Move on. Focus on overall clarity, not on moment-to-moment perfection.
The advice is, keep swimming. Don't look back at the splash you just made.
Just keep swimming.
All right, this is great. Let's move into our final section, section 5. This is the mindset shift. How do we take all of this incredible information and actually use it in the exam room to change our performance?
This is where we bring it all together. It really is about a psychological change. Once you truly understand these facts, that they want criteria, not brilliance, evidence, not impressions, structure, not naturalness, you can completely change your behavior. You can start to gamify the test.
Step 1, stop overthinking.
Yes. You do not need to have a brilliant, unique, world-changing opinion on global warming or the future of artificial intelligence. You don't have to be an expert on the topic.
You just need to be an expert on
answering the question. That's it. Your job is to use the conditional tense, use some linking words, give an example, and you're done.
I think students feel this pressure to be interesting. They think, oh, if I say my favorite hobby is reading, that's too boring. I should say my hobby is underwater basket weaving.
No, please say you like reading. It's easy to talk about. You have the vocabulary for it. If you say you like underwater basket weaving, you are going to run out of words in exactly 10 seconds.
So be boring, be safe.
Yes. The examiner is not grading you on how interesting your life is.
Okay, second step. Stop trying to impress.
You don't need to make the examiner laugh. You don't need to make them cry with a touching story about your grandmother. It is not a performance. It is a demonstration of specific linguistic skills.
You just need to fit the criteria.
That's all.
And the third step, which we just covered, stop apologizing.
Give yourself permission to be an imperfect learner. You're at the B2 level. You are supposed to make mistakes. Own it. Speak with confidence, even if your grammar is a little bit messy. Confidence with a few errors sounds much, much better than timid perfectionism.
I think this really helps reduce anxiety, because now the student has a clear job to do.
Exactly. It's not this vague, scary task like be good at English. It's a specific, manageable job. Use 3 linking words. Give 2 reasons. Speak in clear sentences. Anyone can practice and learn how to do that job.
It reframes the examiner, too. We said at the beginning that the examiner can feel like an enemy or a judge.
But they're not. Once you understand this, you see they're just a person with a checklist. And honestly, they want to give you a good score. It is so much easier and more pleasant to mark a good student than a bad one. They are secretly hoping you succeed because it makes their day easier.
They're just trying to answer that one question. Does this student's performance meet the level requirements?
And your job is to make the answer to that question a clear, obvious yes. You do that by providing them with all the evidence they need. You're helping them do their job.
I really like that framing. Help them do their job. You're a team, you give them the evidence, and in return, they give you the marks.
Precisely. When you understand that, you stop fighting against the exam and you start working with it.
Wow. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like even I'm ready to go take an exam now, and I absolutely hate exams.
It really does change the game, doesn't it?
It does. Okay, let's summarize the key takeaways for everyone listening before we wrap things up. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. So if you only remember 4 things from our chat today, remember these. Number 1, criteria over intelligence. Don't try to be smart. Try to hit the targets on the marking sheet.
Number 2, visible evidence over hidden potential. If you don't say it, they can't score it. You have to show them your range. Be clear.
Number 3, structure over natural rambling. Don't act like you're in a coffee shop. Use those signposting words. Be organized. It makes their job so much easier.
And number 4, clarity over perfection. Mistakes are okay. They are expected. Just make sure your message is understood. Communication breakdown is the real enemy.
Exactly.
I think my favorite single takeaway is the idea that simple but clear beats complicated but unclear. That's not just for exams. That's a life lesson.
It really is. Communication is about being understood. If that fails, nothing else matters.
So to all of you listening, the next time you practice your speaking or your writing, I want you to try on this new mindset. Don't worry about being a genius. Focus on the structure. Focus on the clarity. Just see how it feels.
Record yourself on your phone. Then listen back and ask yourself those questions. Did I answer the question directly? Did I use linking words? Was my main idea clear from the start? Be your own examiner.
That is fantastic advice. Now, before we go, we always like to leave you with a provocative thought, something to chew on for the week.
Yes. So, considering everything we've talked about today, if the exam isn't really testing your intelligence, and it isn't testing your personality, and it completely ignores your potential, is it possible that passing an exam is actually a specific skill that is separate from just knowing English?
Oh, that's a great question. So you could be good at English, but bad at taking exams.
Or maybe you could be just okay at English in your daily life, but become excellent at the skill of taking exams. And if that's true, doesn't that make the whole task feel much less scary? Much easier to master. You don't have to learn the entire language to perfection.
You just have to master the game of the exam.
You just have to master the game.
That puts the power right back in the hands of the learner. I love that. Well, that is all the time we have for today on ESL Listening Practice. Thank you so much for joining us.
It was a real pleasure. Good luck with your studies, everyone.
Keep practicing, focus on that structure, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.
Goodbye.